All right, I hope this is working. I've never done this before, so if you're watching, if you could just comment in the live chat, just that you can hear me and things are working. Awesome. So there's a little bit of delay in terms of when I'm going to say something, and you guys are going to see it, so hopefully it won't be too bad. But I'm glad to see some people joining. That's nice. So for right now, I'm just going to be working on my current project. I've posted a little bit about it. It's an ethnography or a ethnographic map of the Austrian Empire, which you can see kind of what I've been doing so far. Let me see here. There's the original map that I'm basing off of is actually divided into 4 chunks. So I've done the northwestern chunk, which is right here. They're 40 megabyte files. So this was the northwestern chunk, showing the outline of the Austrian Empire in 1855, and then color-coded according to the various cultures. So I've basically finished the northwest section here, and now I want to move on to the northeast section here, showing Hungary, Slovakia, Galicia, places like that. And so we'll just load so I have it loaded here. I have the map itself. It has a fairly complicated a style guide, because it's not just solid colors. You can kind of see here down in the southern part of Austria. If I zoom in a little bit, load, you can see these things implying mixed cultures between the 2 cultures, and so trying to get that in some places. Like there's one here on the south end of this lake. Oh, right, it's not working. I don't know why. So one of the things you can do is you can save the style. This is actually something I usually don't do, but now that I know it exists, I'll probably be using it quite often, because this one is very complicated, involving 3 different fills, and then looking at various modifications here, and just way too many things to remember. So I can just save the style, and then whenever I want to use it again, whenever I update the shapefile or I do something different, I can load it and get what I want here. One of the problems, though, is for some reason, even when I set the this offset variable, actually it's I'm going to edit it here. So it's 2.25 and then 0.0. And so then that brings up this tricolor pattern to imply the three cultures kind of mixing here. But even when I've saved a number of times with the setting on, it just removes it. So I don't know if that's a bug or what, but it just doesn't save it. So if I want to make sure it's accurate, I have to add in. But luckily, it's a very simple thing. It's the same as the other one in terms of it's just an offset, a constant offset, so I can get this kind of pattern here. In addition to this map, the original map I can show here. You can see these like orange lines, and then really zoom in. There are these dotted lines with these numbers in each kind of section, and it designates the political geography, and so I want to include that as well. And so I'm having two levels, so there'll be a level 1, which is these orange lines, which kind of denote kind of the bigger, the Austrian Empire was, it was an empire, so it was a collection of various kind of areas, and it wasn't very well integrated. So there'll be a level 1 denoting those ones, and then a level 2, which will zoom down to these kind of like county level, province level things. And so this was kind of my start for the county level ones. Not really worrying about too much, just because it's going to be made up. It's just something that I can work on later in terms of making sure it gets correct. So I started with loading in. I had loaded in this northeastern one, but there are some issues here. So one of the things I like to do when I'm doing this kind of thing is I found that you really just want to look at the outlines. You can do the color later, so you can just set this as no brush, and then I like to set a nice pink, really fat pink, and then that, once it loads here, so the lines are going to stay the same, but the lines that aren't kind of designated for colors, they come up in this nice pink color, which usually you can see very clearly no matter what the background is, whether it's this road background, if you want to use a satellite image, if you have these maps, it usually shows up really well. So I really like that one. Let's see, a question here. How do you deal with so the question is, how do you deal with large data sets, million point shapefiles, 20 field CSVs in QGIS or R or Python? Well, I mean, I feel like this is probably like my first attempt, because this is, I can go to that specific image here, right? So like this modified image is 220 megabytes. I think the shapefile itself isn't too bad. The compression is really good, but I don't really think about dealing with that. I just kind of hope it works well. But yeah, sorry I don't have a great answer for you, Aurelio. Certainly, probably R or Python might actually be pretty good for that. Just because they're much more dedicated for handling kind of large data sets, and there's probably some great packages out there. But I haven't really I did some R mapping like 2 or 3 years ago before I even knew what QGIS was, and that didn't go very well. But I think if I went back knowing like how this mapping stuff works with shapefiles and whatnot, I could probably figure it out. So I don't really know how R or Python, but I'm sure my experience is that, especially in Python, if you want to do something in Python, you can almost certainly do it. It doesn't really matter how crazy it is. There have been packages devoted to it. Python's a super powerful language. You can kind of do whatever you want there. So, sorry that's not a great answer, but yeah. Thanks for the question. Yeah, thank you. All right, so yeah, so getting back to this, part of the problem I have here is that, okay, maybe it'd be easier to show it like this. I turn the brush on. So you can see that, so this part, I've basically been like, oh yeah, that's correct. I tried to extend it over, and I kind of had a rough idea of how things were going to go. And there's some things that are lining up well, but other things aren't lining up very well. I guess you can kind of see here, I kind of, the previous image, the northwest part, had the German area, that red part, extending into this area, and clearly it's not the case. So I have to do a lot of, I'm thinking that I'm going to have to reload the northwest one in, which could be a good time to show how to input kind of images so that you can, if you have images, if there are no shape files, right? So one of my other tutorials, I think, kind of covers this. Well, Montana doesn't have any precinct shape files, so you have to. They only have images, and so you can, bring your image into QGIS and kind of create them yourself. It's kind of annoying, but sometimes it's a little fun. So we'll work on that. So up here in raster, I think the georeferencer is what you're going to be using, but it's not actually a base thing. So you actually have to go to the plugins here and look for a georeferencer and make sure it's turned on here. And so that's one I usually use because I, do this. I like making my own shape files. So then you open a new raster. So I'm going to bring in the northwest one here, and then we're going to adjust our transformation. So there's a couple different transformations you can use. I think neural research polynomial 2 is one of the easier ones. You just specify 6 points. You match 6 points from your image to the map, and then you run it, and then it just does a little bit of a rotation, stretching, kind of basic polynomial stuff. It's roughly accurate. That's what I had used, but sometimes it can kind of get a little messed up. So the northeast one, I use this thin plate spline, which really, you can put in a ton of points, and it really, basically it assumes that when you place the points that those are accurate, and it morphs the image to match those points. Versus the other ones, they say like, okay, your rough estimate here, and we're going to do a generic transformation, but maintaining some other kind of dimension kind of stuff. So I'm use the thin plate spline, try to get it a little bit more locally accurate. Just means we have to do a lot more points. I'll use this nearest neighbor sampling. We're going to keep it. I'm using the Austria-Lambert projection. We're going to change this. I don't want to store it here. So this is the folder I have for the maps, but I have a separate folder for the project. So we're just going to call this what? I think that's the northeast. I think we'll just take off this part. Northwest, we'll save that, and everything should be good. Okay, cool. So now we're going to start adding points. So these are your kind of main things here: move, remove, and add. So start with the add. And so what we're going to do, let me turn this part off. So we're doing the northwest stuff. So we're going to find points that we know where they are. So like, for example, it can kind of difficult, especially for these older maps that aren't super accurate. Sometimes, I think usually I like to use either rivers, because rivers are, I feel like they're a little bit more permanent. Um, and with cities, sometimes the city centers change, and they're a lot more. They're less point like. They're more, they have shape, and so it can be hard to pinpoint that. And so the rivers are a little bit more definite in terms of finding points. You can kind of see here they have these latitude and longitude lines, and those are pretty good. But those require you have to be in a certain projection. So you can kind of see down here the coordinates. So I think one of the base ones, the like WGS 84, I think, does it where these coordinates down here are the latitude and longitude lines. So what you can do, right, is so this one I think is on the outside here. You can see the 47th parallel here, and so somewhere down here we can see okay, this point here, you can put it's the 47th parallel and whatever it is east, and it'll map directly to it. But it's going to be using this coordinate system, so unless you use a coordinate system that is exact, so this should be, where is it? Here. This is 47 north, and you can see in the coordinate that I have no idea how they convert from the latitude to whatever number that is. So that doesn't really always work for trying to find that stuff. So we're going to use the rivers. I guess we can start here in Salzburg. It's a pretty defined place. So we're going to go over here to Salzburg. And so this is one where I'm kind of going to use both the river and the city. So you can see there's Salzburg, and you can see this river kind of does this little bend here and a little bend here. You can see that right here. So I'm just going to estimate and say that this point is roughly around there. Say okay. Yeah. I think that should be good. I think I want to move it a little bit that way. Maybe over here. Yeah, cool. So we can say that, so what's going to do is just say this point in that map on the image, and this point on the QGIS map, they're the same, and so everything around the image is going to be adjusted to match that point. So we're going to put a bunch of points in, so that way we can get this as accurate as possible. We can probably up here, here's Passau. Hopefully no one from who's fluent in German or from this area comes on, because I'm going to absolutely butcher these. But I'll do my best. So we'll do the point here. This one's a little bit more difficult because of that orange border. Maybe we'll come down the Danube a little bit. Yeah, here we go. Here's a good one. So you can see this bend in the Danube here. Lines up pretty well with what is actually there. So I can just come here. It's in the middle of this curve. Right about there. Those will be the same point. So now we got 2 points done. We can come down here to Linz. Or, yeah, there it is, Linz. Put another point in. Or where the ends comes in is probably a better one. Maybe. That was a little tricky. It seems to go up further. It goes up straight more than it goes to the east. So I don't really like that as a point. And we can try Steyr. Yeah, that should work. So we're just gonna think this point here and this point here should be pretty much the same. And we'll continue on with this stuff. I mean, since I only care about the east point, I should probably just do the east side. Because, this one part's inaccurate. I don't care because I've already done that. It's where it joins here that I care most. So let's go off to the east. So I think this point here, this little V and this V are the same. So I think I'm just going to use that. So right here at the corner, come down and say roughly there. That's another point. That's another good one. Let's see about the rivers down here. So we can see Shepreg here, and Steinmanger is Sambathli in Hungarian. Maybe here at Sarvar there is a confluence here of the Rapa and one of the other ones. Yeah. I don't like it too much. I think for this one, I'm just going to use the city because the river, I feel like, has moved quite a bit versus the city at least is close. Probably just put on that castle there. Here. Hope that works. Let's come down here. Should be something here. No, that's just a... This is a hard one. There's not a lot of great choices. I guess we got Bad Radkersburg. Can use that. Just do the city here. And then you got old on this one on the other side. In the middle. Let's see. Let's do that part of the Mur. Cool. Alright. A couple points there. Kind of want to do one over here. Or should we do, there's grass in the brook in the middle there. We can do that. I think we'll do the, just put right here. All right, well, we'll say that's good enough, hopefully for the south. There, maybe, what? What's a railroad? There's, okay, so it should be right in here. Yeah, there's New Neukirchen. Looks like they've demolished the railroad, or at least doesn't do this windy thing anymore. You can see the railroad right through there. But we can put the city on here. Yeah, I think the city's probably fine, hopefully. Alright, across the border here. I think, yeah, we can do confluence here with the Danube and the Morava. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so this is probably the hardest, well, part of the hardest part, just getting the map lined up. And I feel like a lot of it depends on how worried you are about the accuracy and getting it to line up. I think we'll just work on here. And this, yeah, this is where, because I'm working on this, this is where the Morava and the Thava, something like that. Thaya. That's where they meet up. So we can stick one here. And so yeah, because I'm doing this big map, one of my previous tweets about it, someone had asked about how do I know that like these are the exact lines? Like where did they go? I'm like, well, it's mostly an art because dealing with big picture maps and kind of just saying, kind of just assume that they're not straight lines like here in the U.S., but follow natural borders, like rivers and mountains and things like that. So up here, oh, that should be a good one. There's a confluence here, like that. I like these confluences because they're more specific points that you can, make it a little bit more specific versus like bends in the river. Right. Then let's keep going up here. Probably do ones. Can I do one right on the edge here? Maybe. I think this is that city. No. Aletha goes up this way and it comes in, yeah. So you can kind of see, well, that's good. See these bends here, match these bends here. I'm going to do this one in the middle there. Cool. All right, let's go for there. Keep pushing up this way. This looks like the city of Pskov and Wishov, probably. Vishov. Look like the same cities, so we're just gonna. Definitely one of the interesting things about working in the Google Maps and QGIS at this time is there's so many of these things are just like, oh, temporarily closed, just everywhere. Just interesting. I don't know, to me, just see see them all, just everything closed, seeing everything affected by the pandemic. All right, Olmutz. That's what's hard to see. We'll just do the city. Shouldn't be that bad, hopefully. That's the thing, is you don't really know until you run it how bad it's going to be. Luckily, you can move the points. Still kind of like, All right, there's Sternberg here. Oh, there. Oh, no. That's what I'm looking for. That's the thing, is a lot of these names have changed, or what was a big city in the 19th century is no longer. Big cities have popped up recently, and this was the German names. Now we're in the Czech Republic, so it's again different name. There's that in Javornik. I guess we can do that one. Really would like to get at least one in here. Weisenberg should be. There's Olmutz. There's that one. Weisenberg is like here. Probably expected to be here. Maybe this road is this road. And this one. So I'm kind of thinking that this bend in the road here and this bend are the same. So I'm just going to go for that. Okay, so now I have most of this eastern part done. Let's see, can I get one down here? No, we'll do it only. So this one, let's see, is there anything up here? Breslau. Yeah, there's the Oda River. We can do that. Oh, here we go. Olawa, yeah. Cool. So then we just bend in the river. Probably just do the city. I feel like that's a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Cool. Awesome. So now I've done this eastern part. This western part is going to get messed up. We only care about the transition here, so I can just run that. It's going to take a little while because we have many points, and it has to do a very localized transformation. That's not too bad. You can see how the various other things line up. Interesting. This says that the Hungarian part continues on. This one says the German part continues on. So I guess I'm just going to have to wing it. Let's see, we're going to put this on this side. And then we're going to remove this. That's not too bad. See, this is where I drew the lines before. Interesting. You can kind of see here that the river is messed up. Ooh, oh well. Guess we'll just get started here. So one of the ways that I've kind of figured out through trial and error is that the best way to create these little polygons is not to create them individually using this add polygon feature, but to split them off from your original polygon. So that's why I have this real big polygon here surrounding the whole area that I want to work on. So then I could just split off from those, and then what happens there, because doing a split, is it means that all of your lines will be perfectly or mostly perfectly identical, and so you won't get any gaps, right? So like if that's a bad example. Or there's one this one should be good. So I'll agree. So if I continually zoom in here, you can see that you're just never going to find the gap. Doesn't matter how far in. Oh, we've zoomed in too far. But yeah, you're not going to find the gap. Versus, even if you did it by hand, you'd have to zoom in really far to get it, and it's just not worth your time. So that's why what I've done is Yeah, so you can see here, I've added, these are not normal shortcuts. I've added a Shift S for split features and a Shift M for merge features. And so then I can just turn on the Shift features thing here. Going down here. This part here. And we'll overlay, or underlay this one. And so we can see here that there's this green along the river with this German part, which kind of implies it's a mixed area. It's base of German with a little bit of, and this is the Croatian color. So what I'm going to do is just around here, we'll start this one, move down, and follow the river. And then this is again, you can be as accurate or as inaccurate as you kind of like, kind of depending on how important it is to get that kind of line here. Now, one of the things about doing split features is you can't cross over. So what we're going to do, so you can see how here it follows the river again. So what we're going to do is, in preparation for that, we're just going to keep following the river until we get to the end. A lot of times when it comes to delineating these rivers and stuff, it kind of depends upon how do I feel about doing every exact little thing versus just being like, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to kind of follow the outline. Because at the end of the day, right, like, this looks good, but hopefully you're going to be looking at this scale and you're going to be like, you can't even see it at all. So, even when you zoom out this far, right, like, that deviations aren't going to matter at all. So we've done our first one here, and then we'll just kind of encircle this a little bit like that. Again, that's like more freehand, just going to be like, well, it's not going to be perfect, it's not going to be a straight line, but it's going to be something like that. And then for this Croatian part, this Croatian part's a little bit bigger. We also have to deal with this thing. I think I'll just do it from here and just say start here, follow the border here, and the way you can see how it's shifted a little bit down, so I'm going to go a little bit further there before coming up and meeting the border here. So there we go. Got our first two done. So then, now this is something you might want to wait. I like kind of doing it right now because then I can see my progress. So I'm going to change this and say that no, this is not German, it's Croat. And you can see here that the border hopefully changed. We'll see maybe here. And then this one is German-Croat. So it's a German base with a Croat on top. So actually you get that's the Croats on the top. Did it even? Huh. I'm surprised. Well, I don't know. I would have expected to see some more of that greenish blue color. Alright. We got one down. Now, important, especially when you're dealing with large, we have lots of files and things. Try to save fairly often. Had a number of times where if you have temporary layers and you're dealing with something big and QGIS just can't handle it, and so it crashes and all that temporary stuff goes away and all the unsafe stuff goes away, and it's annoying because it's tedious. You don't want to get it back. You don't want to have to work to get it back. So, all right, it looks like this one follows the river here, where the river comes back here. Yeah, so you can see, for this one, I had decided, I guess, to just follow the map rather than the river. And so you can see that, I did a kind of bad job about that. But it looks like here it goes off the river and comes back to the river at this bend, and then it follows the river again. So we're just going to Shift S again and follow the river here. Yeah, now I feel in much better, like, let's be exact, we have plenty of time. So this river here, let's see, is that town? It looks like the town is, one, represented on the map, so that's good, and two, it's included in the German part. So we're going to keep it in the German part. We'll just go up like this and boom, there. Awesome. I don't really want to. Oh boy. All right. Well, I'm not going to waste time by being super exact for this, but I'll just kind of tidy this up a little bit more. Got our first bend here, another bend here, another bend here. This is why when it comes to rivers, because of how windy and stuff, and you're gonna have these weird borders and things, I don't know why I didn't, because I was feeling very tired then. I usually like to do the rivers, because if you mess it up and you have a river snaking across the line, it can be really annoying. So to have to do this over and over again. Oh boy. Okay, so it looks like that little bit here didn't exist in the map, so we're just going to ignore it. Boom. Just like that. I think I'll just go to this one and say that's good enough. Because I mean, this part right here, it doesn't really matter in terms of looking at the map that I'm going to want to publish, and I think it's going to be more for when if you use this shapefile and you're like, that doesn't line up so well, and that's when you're going to really notice it. So that's kind of more for when it's eventually, hopefully, people might use this. I don't know. It also makes you feel a little better to say it's a little more accurate. But like that. So now we've got these outlines. So now what we're going to do is kind of combine them. And boom. So take those two, and Shift M. It's not in Lower Austria. What in the world? Okay, I'm just going to take attributes there. Oh, it should be great. Like that. This one. And this one. We'll do this one. Really wants to assign the Lower Austrian part. And this one. And this one. And we'll do the other side here. This one. And this one. Cool. Oh. Alright. So this is where Control can see that, undo that. So you've probably been seeing, these little bits here. You might be asking, like, why are they going to show up? I mean, I'm just splitting it. You'd think I should be doing it accurately. It should be the exact same point. It should be able to know that they overlap. But the problem is that this is, or I don't know for certain, but my assumption is that the points are using floating point numbers, or basically there's going to be a finite accuracy to the points being used here. So that when you pick the two, and they're going to be, two technically separate points. Sometimes they will get saved as different points, and so they won't line up perfectly, and so we get these little strands. And it's really no big deal because you can pretty easily click the vertex tool, highlight over here, highlight, delete, and then just delete here, and then we'll do, you get this green X, and be like, oh no, it's an overlapping, self-intersecting. Like, oh, there it goes. You also get, we'll do that later, but you get these like little bits here. Now the problem is that if you look on this side, there is no point there, even though I told you the split there, versus on these ones there is. So if I deleted this point, it wouldn't revert to this point. It would revert to this point, and so then you get a little hole here, so we don't want that. But because of the fact that these two are going to be combined, we can probably just do it right now. Like that. Oh, then it goes away, and it gives you that point here. So now I can delete this point while still maintaining the kind of perfect intersection here. Same thing here. Actually, I'm going to delete these 2 points. Make it a little more accurate. This point here, this one here, these ones here. Yeah, get rid of. Well, this one's hard because they're both kind of bad, but I'll do that one. It makes it maintain that like roundedness there. That should be all of the ones we've done so far. Now, as we saw, when I combined them here, it did not delete those points. And so there's a couple ways you can do it. This one's actually pretty easy. So this is why when you're doing these splits, right, like let's say, for whatever reason, we wanted to cut this thing in half. And you could just go on whoop, like this. Now you don't want to do that because it'll just create these 2 points here. And so there is a pretty high, or not high, but like there is a good possibility that both of them will be off, and so if you want to eventually recombine them, it's not going to do it. It's not going to work. So that's why I put in some redundant points, because the more points you have, the more likely that at least some of them are going to actually intersect, and so when you do the merge, it's going to get rid of them, and then you can delete the points and you have no issue. Because if I did my merge here, that doesn't work, right? And then I try to delete these points, it just like messes everything up. You get these weird issues because it becomes a multi-polygon. There's 2 different parts rather than one single polygon. And so the way to deal with that is you just take one of these points here. So you have to be careful because you want to be on this side, because if I come on this side and I move this point, then you're going to have, it's not going to be perfect here because there's no actual point here. So I want to do the one on the inside and move it into the territory here, so we maintain that this is a point here, and hopefully it's the same here. Yeah, it looks like it. And so now that they're overlapping, it's going to, boom, send them away. So that's one way to do that. That's the way I usually like to do it, but you do have to be careful, and sometimes you get issues here on the edges. Another way that you can do it is it's just basically you've got to add more points, more places, more opportunities for it to intersect. So if you do something like this and just put, random polygon here around it, then when we do this one, because we've established these points here, should probably intersect here, and then when we do this one, it's a different one, and so then the one that we had gotten rid of here, now it's no big issue because I can just delete this one, delete these 2, and back to normal. So those are your 2 ways to get rid of those kind of things. All right. So looks like it's nearing 7 p.m. Central Time. So what I'm going to do is finish up this stuff here. Nice. Get this one. Get rid of this one. So now it looks all pretty and it follows the river pretty well. I guess we'll just also do this one. We'll do this one as well, because I think, well, yeah, because that's all Hungarian there, and it continues to be all Hungarian here. So we'll combine these two together. And then we'll make sure it's accurate. Selecting this and saying, nope, it's not German, it's Hungarian. Save that. And we'll turn on, just to make it look pretty. Boom. So you can see now this is this new Croatian and German Croatian part, and this new pretty lines and all that fun stuff. So I'm coming here to the end. So if there's any other questions, anything at all about QGIS data, really anything related to QGIS data mapping, stuff like that, please feel free to ask them, and I'll try to answer them in the last couple minutes here. But hopefully, you know, if you've never done the shapefile modifications, you've learned a few things, maybe got a few ideas about things you want to, maps you want to make. This can be helpful. This is how you can do a lot of the more kind of fantasy maps. So like there was a humor kind of thread imagining if Florida was going to get broken up like Burgundy in the 1400s, because Florida has the Burgundian cross on it. Let's see. I might not have saved it because it was just like a quick thing. Yeah, I don't have that. And basically, you know, loaded a county map and took the counties I wanted and combined them together into one polygon. And then I merged that polygon with a bigger U.S. states one and merged them there and renamed things. And so that's how you get that. So like, it's not even just, you know, for mapping historical things, but if you want to do fantasy things, or if you see a map with like errors or, you know, weird precincts, or if precincts are combined, or, you know, whatever. There's lots of weird things with this. I can do it. The one thing I would suggest though is that don't use like official shapefiles. Right, so like one of the things when I first started doing this, I have, where is it? I have a folder for the European country shapefiles, and so you can see, you know, the Austrian ones, and so I think I loaded this one because a lot of these things have stayed the same. Since then. We got one last question from Luca. Do you have any experience with using SVG files? No, not at all. Sorry. Yeah, when it comes to exporting the projects, let's see, test map, if that could work. You can export these things. I should probably actually do that, you know, from now on. You can export as SVG. I usually just export as an image. I don't know about modifying SVGs in QGIS. So that would have to be something I would have to do research on. But that could be, since I've never really used SVG, I never really felt incentivized to do that. So I don't know. So I'm sorry. Again, another great question. A question I'm definitely not an expert when it comes to QGIS. So unfortunately, I couldn't answer that. But looks like we're at the 7 p.m. mark. So thank you everyone who joined. Thanks for the great questions. I hope to do this again. And I hope you all enjoyed it. And yeah, thank you very much. gonna end this somehow. How do I end this? End stream.